Stop using VStack for complex layouts. SwiftUI Grid does it cleaner, faster, and most developers don't even know how to use it. So this is the application that we'll be creating. It allows the user to select or add the type of toppings that they want. So for example, if I wanted to add lettuce is 20 pence, it will update the rolling or the running total. As you can see, the total so far is 20p outstanding for the order. And if I added tomato as a topping to my order, you can see that the totals have been reflected to be 45p, since the topping that was added is 25 pence. And then if I want to delete a topping, I can just click on delete, and then this will also reflect the totals. And it also shows the amount that was selected as well. So this is the tutorial for today. Within your content view, type the following. So the first thing we need to do is to define our data model. Struct topping identifiable. A topping will include an ID, and that's needed for the VStack, so that we can loop through each of the items in the array. And also an emoji is needed, and that will display the icon or the image, such as tomato. We also need a name, that will display the name of the emoji and the caption, such as tomato, and also the price, which is double. The next thing we need to do is to type the following within our content view struct. At state private var toppings, which will include an array of toppings. And the reasons for defining the variable as at state is because we want to let SwiftUI know that changes can happen, and the update should happen on the UI. We will just add some data to our toppings array. So this will be the emoji, which is the image as seen here, for example, lettuce. So to add your emoji, you add it between the commas, and then you select CMD, control, which is CTRL, and then the space bar, and then you type in the name of the emoji that you want to use as an image. So the first name we will use is lettuce, and then you just select it. It should be there, so I type it again. Control, CMD, and space, lettuce. And then the name of the emoji is lettuce. The price is 0.25. 0.20, 20 pence. And then we create another emoji with a price and a name. I'll just copy the previous line. For this emoji, this will be tomato. So it's CMD, control and space. Type in tomato. Tomato. The price is 25 pence. Do the same thing for onion. The price of the onion is 15 pence. And then the next topping will be bacon. Bacon is 90 pence. The next one is pickle. A pickle, it's not coming up. Let's try it again. Don't know why it's not coming up. Okay, I just will exchange it to jalapeno. It's not coming up. So I'm wondering if syrup will be there. I think there's something wrong with my Xcode. So which other toppings can I use? Only pepper. Yeah, just add the pepper as a topping. So now we have our toppings. Within our array. The next thing we need to do is to create another variable, @state variable, private var @state private var selected and the purpose of this @state variable will be to include a list of selected IDs that will be used for our toppings. UID, so that's an array. And we also need to use a private let variable, which is action column width, CG float, equals 88. And the purpose of using that line is to keep the grid from shifting when text changes. So now we need to create our VStack, alignment, dot leading, spacing, 16. And the purpose of the VStack is to lay the content top to bottom. And this will also include a text element, which is add toppings. So it will look something like this. So we need to add another emoji. The toppings is fries. So let's add toppings. Font will be title 2. And it will be bold. Don't know if the preview is working. So as I said, it will look like this now. The next thing we need to do is to create our grid, which will be a fixed grid for small static data layouts. Grid, horizontal spacing 16, vertical spacing 12. The grid will contain a grid row for the header and the columns. Our first header is topping, font, should be topping, font, headline. So that's our first column. And then I'll just copy and paste it to create our second column, which is price. As you can see it within the preview now. And then the final column is add. As you can see, so it will resemble something like this. We also need to create a divider, a little line, as you can see, a faint line. So to do that, it's quite easy. All you need to do is just type in the following: divider, grid, cell columns, the 3. As you can see, the faint line is now there. The next thing we need to do is to loop through each of the toppings using a for each loop. So we're just looping through the array. and then we create our grid row. Our grid row contains a HStack, spacing 8, text elements includes the name of the emoji or the topping, and also includes the name of the actual topping. As you can see there. We also need to include a text element that displays the total, as in the running total, which is at the bottom here, this one here. So to do that, we just do it anywhere after lines 52. So just type in text, £, topping, price, specifier, as we want it to be to 2 decimal places. It should be dot. Something's wrong with Xcode again. Monospace. And the purpose of using monospace is to keep the numbers from winningly as they change. I mean wiggling as they change. We also need to create a button. Selected contains topping ID. It should be topping.id. Delete, else the caption of the button will be add. So I wonder if there's anything here that will show it. So how it would work, if I added tomato, when I click on the add button for tomato, the caption after that will change to delete, and that would enable me to delete the topping if needed. So the thing I need to do now is to toggle the selections for the topping. So if selected dot contains topping ID, selected dot remove topping ID, and the purpose of doing that is to enable the user to add and remove the toppings when needed. Else selected insert to insert the new topping ID. So if not selected, insert that topping into the array. After line 63, enter the following: dot button style, border prominent, dot tint, selected, contains topping ID, dot green, nil, dot frame width, action column width, alignment, dot trailing, and the purpose of that line is to stop the VStack from jumping when adding or removing elements from the VStack. So the next one we need to do is to add another divider across all the columns before the summary row. So the summary row is this row here at the bottom. That shows how many toppings were selected and the total price of all the toppings that were selected. Divider.grid cell columns 3. You can see it's created the little divider now. And then now we just create the grid row at the footer that will show the amount of toppings that were selected. Font headline. Text. Selected count. And then we just display the full total. So I'll just copy lines 54 because it's a little bit similar. Just paste it here. And then instead of using topping.price, I'll just use total. And for the font, I'll just use headline. We have to create a computed property afterwards for the total. Padding. Purpose of using dot padding on lines 81 is to add some space around everything. And then, yeah, we need to create our computed property now. Private var total double. So the computed property will calculate the total price of the selected toppings, filter, selected contains $0 ID and you also need to use map price and reduce 0 plus, that should be 0 plus. So what that computed property does, it keeps only the selected toppings, which is on this line where it does the filter using the $0.ID. And then after that, it takes just the price. So it just extracts the price of the toppings using map. And then it calculates or sums up all of the toppings starting from 0. In the next tutorial, I'll show you how to use HStacks with Swift data. Don't forget to subscribe for more Swift and SwiftUI tutorials.